It's 3 o'clock. A very good afternoon and welcome to eNCA. I'm Tembekile Mkhototo. We have defied all temptation to stay in and not come to work today.
Right, we made it. And I'm Cele Ramila. Pleasure to be in your company this afternoon.
Let's get going. Government says those found guilty of contravening lockdown regulations could face up to 6 months behind bars. Justice and Correctional Services Minister Ronald Lamola says, depending on the magistrate's ruling, you may be fined or spend half a year in a correctional facility for not wearing a mask in public, for example. The minister was speaking during a briefing by Cabinet's Justice, Crime Prevention and Security Cluster today.
As the Minister of Police has already said, the charge will be the contravention of the regulations in terms of the Disaster Management Act, and the fines are as per the guidelines of the various chief magistrates across the country, depending on the circumstances and the situation of the matter, which will be dealt with according to the guidelines that they have issued, and also on the merits of that particular matter. There could be instances where the magistrate choose an imprisonment because it's either 6 months or the option of a fine. So it is left to the magistrate to decide and choose which one is the appropriate sentence under the circumstances.
Stop hosting parties or the police will arrest you. Police Minister Cele is pleading with members of the public to stick to lockdown regulations. He gave an update on the latest amended lockdown regulations earlier.
We have seen the increase of these after tears. Please don't make us arrest people at the funerals. It's a painful thing to do. But if you go to funerals and you begin to drink there, the organizers and the family will have to really take care that that doesn't happen. Parties are not allowed, gathering are not allowed. So you cannot take your alcohol and go next door. Cele can't take it next door to Mthembu and we drink together. Mthembu will drink kwa Mthembu. Cele will drink kwa Cele. Once you come together, there's a gathering and it's bob, if that is the case.
Let's get you more on that briefing by the ministers. Bring in eNCA reporter Gervin Whittles. He's been tracking that story. Gervin is live in the newsroom now. And Gervin, I suppose the briefing by the ministers today re-emphasizing the point about how beyond complying with lockdown regulations, we also need to fight the broader scourge of crime, in particular gender-based violence, as highlighted by the police minister.
Yes, indeed, Tembekile, and here we see the police minister once again opting for this multi-pronged approach in fighting crime, particularly GBV, but noting that they have opened up specialist units in areas to not only take the concerns but to investigate these cases. The police minister made the point that they would be continuing with their normal policing of crime, but now they're expecting specialist areas of focus, such as patrolling, these random stop and searches, and a greater deployment of police in that area. But let's have a look at what he had to say.
Gender-based violence is always there, but it took a serious turn from the 1st of June after the unbanning of alcohol. 29 women were killed immediately. There have been a gender-based violence all the time, but 29 women were killed, as you have seen with Pule, as you've seen on Pendukwayo, and the Mfaba from Dobsonville and all that. So there is a strong belief that the violence increases when there is a lot of availability of alcohol.
So, Gavin, apart from the gender-based violence issue, police will also be quite stretched because now when you're enforcing regulations along taxi routes, for example, that's an increase in the number of officers who will be required to be working. We've also got the issue of the curfew that's now in effect, 9 p.m. to 4 a.m., I believe. What has the minister said on those two scores?
Well, he believes that they will be able to effectively police the new limitations, restrictions on taxis and the requirement to keep the windows open, and also the requirement that they only load 100% of their taxis for 200 kilometers. And the minister's saying here he doesn't want to get into a technical fight with the taxi owners, so he's asking the associations to make their drivers aware of where the 201 kilometer mark starts so that they don't get into a tiff with police officers because of it. And the police here feeling confident that they would be up to the task to manage these additional areas where they're expected to have visibility. Also saying that they believe that they will be able to conduct patrols around areas where there are liquor stores, but won't necessarily be guarding them. Let's have a look again at what the police minister had to say.
This will include increased police visibility, roadblocks and patrols where applicable in streets, malls and other areas where people ignore social distancing protocols. There will also be a random stop and search operations to ensure that the prohibition of the trade of alcohol and tobacco is not being subverted. Throughout all of this, law enforcement officials will be dependent upon the cooperation of the community members to ensure these operations are handled in the best possible spirit and with the least disruption.
Governor, finally, the police's conduct will also need to be monitored because we've already seen in this lockdown complaints about brutality, some people even dying allegedly at the hands of officers.
Yeah, and the police committee in Parliament announcing today that there's been a new confirmation. There's been a confirmation of the new iPad head. And the police minister, Cele, saying in the briefing that they've had 685 cases opened against the police since the lockdown began. Most of those cases are for assault and for discharging a weapon. But as the minister pointed out, the discharging of a weapon is not necessarily an unlawful act, especially since they've seen protests that have erupted since the lockdown began, and police opening fire on protesters with rubber bullets and stun grenades. Let's have a look again at what Minister Cele had to say.
The Portfolio Committee has confirmed the new IPT head in the Republic of South Africa. We hope we'll just get on the tune. 685 cases under lockdown. 685 cases were opened against the law enforcement officers. Mostly that will be the police and the Metro Police, because IPT also looks after the police and the Metro. Doesn't look after the South African National Defence Force. That will be the other people. So out of that is only, if I'm not mistaken, 227 that have been investigated and finalized out of those cases. Some of them are under investigation. Yes, the biggest number, that will be the assault and the discharge of the firearm in public.
eNCA reporter Gervin Whittles on that security cluster briefing. Gervin, thank you.